Alrighty. You there, Beau?
I'm here, mate. How are you?
All right, I'm good. So we're on. So I guess, we were having a few conversations about, me starting this podcast, and there's a whole bunch of things that are involved in that, and I guess they'll come up in conversation. But ultimately, I said to you, Beau, do you want to do one?
Yep.
And here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
So how long you been in this place?
Yeah, we've been here for about 4 years now.
Okay.
So yeah, it's we've lived in the area. I was born in this area.
Yep.
So yeah, it's kind of a new estate. So yeah, it was good to.
And driving out here, like it's still like, okay, so you grew up in this area. So how old are you now?
38, 38.
38.
I wish 28. Nah, 38.
Yeah, no, all good. And okay, so what was it like growing up in this area? What's the earliest memory you've got of this place?
Oh, look, it was awesome out here. Like, it's changed so much now, but back when I was a kid, it was like you'd just get on your bike and be riding around till the street lights came on. Basically, there wasn't even a set of traffic lights in town.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really good. My earliest memory would probably be just that, like going down the main street on a Saturday morning with my dad, and going to a newsagent or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's changed a lot now.
Yeah, wow. Okay, and so for those of you who don't know where we are, we're in Talumbar?
Yeah, so we're in Talumbar, which is a little kind of new estate out of Albion Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And Albion Park is just a little bit further south of Wollongong.
Yes, that's right.
And Wollongong, for those who may not know, is probably about what? I think it's about 70 k's from Sydney.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yep. And okay, so when you were growing up in this area, how many people were there around?
Oh, yeah, look, I wouldn't know exact numbers, but it was quite small.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
And how did you find it at school? Like, was there a lot of kids?
There was the average amount of kids. I think our school had, I don't know, 400 or 500 probably.
Yep.
So there was a few kids around.
Yep.
But that was also, what was so great about this area back then. There was just kids everywhere.
Yeah.
Did
you find it was like a very community kind of vibe?
Yeah, back then, yeah, it was. Definitely was. It had that country town feel still.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's still got it now?
In certain aspects, yeah, we do. And I suppose it comes down to the circles you're in as well. Like the annual show and so forth. We're still a part of that. I've got 2 girls now that love it and love their cooking and that, so they get involved in it. But there's a lot of new people as well that have come to the area. So probably the community side of it in the actual streets is probably dropping. But in saying that, yeah, like I said, there's certain events that everyone comes together in and, yeah, gets involved.
Yep. Okay. And all right, well, I guess, for people who are listening, probably we should talk about, how do we come to meet?
Yep.
So, Beau and I, we've been working together for the last probably about 5 odd years.
Yeah, it'd be about that, yep.
At the same company. And this year, Beau's had a bit of an epiphany and he's decided to change course a little bit.
Yeah.
So why don't you share with us, a little bit about what you're doing? And
yeah, well, yeah, it's a mixture of things. So one of the things that, like, we've spoken about a lot is lifestyle and, getting away and being with the kids and getting them, to be a part of our lives. So, they're not stuck at home looking at iPads and stuff like that every school holidays. So me and my wife Anne, we endeavoured to kind of find a job that would suit that kind of lifestyle. And hence, she basically stepped away from her full-time job when our second was born.
Mm-hmm. And how old are the kids?
Yeah, so Jessie is 10, she's our youngest, and Madison is 13.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, she went on maternity leave and basically went back and asked for a part-time job, which wasn't available at the time. So she was a qualified horticulturalist. So yeah, we decided back then that she would go out on her own. Yep. And hence she has. And basically the business has kind of been built around looking after the girls and being there for them and just as time prevailed and so forth. And it's kind of got to the stage now where the business has grown a lot. We've had a few staff on last season and so forth. And then this season we thought, well, why don't we take the big step and go all in? Yep. And, then that way we can continue to grow the business together and then, plan it around our lifestyle as well.
So how do you get into horticulture? Like, I guess, what did Anne do?
Well, she done a trade. So she worked on the local council.
Okay.
So she left school, went and worked in the local council and so forth. Now I have been a part of that since we've been married.
Yep.
But in saying that, probably my previous job with you, Johnny, was all about the business side of things. So it's
Yep.
about the management side. So there's a lot of differences there that we can bring to the table. And Anne's fantastic in the gardens and does a great job, and her clients love her.
Yep.
And I suppose the next step is to scale that out a bit more and grow the business, which is where I come in.
So, and was that okay? Let's go back a step. So, when did you and Anne meet?
So we've known each other pretty much since we're teenagers.
Okay.
We weren't extremely close. She was a few years above me at school, but we met through local church groups. And then, we just kind of, we were actually leading a youth group together, and done that for a number of years, and then became good friends, and went from there basically.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Okay. And so after Madison was born,
Yep.
then she was looking for part-time work, wasn't available.
Jessie.
Oh,
So after Madison, she
Yep.
she done her 12 months maternity leave.
Yep.
And went back full time.
Okay.
But then when Jessie was born, then she done her maternity leave again.
Yep.
And then went back and tried to do like a job share or part time, and it
Yep.
just wasn't available at the time. So
Okay.
yeah.
And so then when she started it, like I guess, how did she find her first clients?
Well, her first clients came from just friends of the family. So she was already, people were already talking to her about, doing their gardens and so forth. And I suppose it was a bit of a leap of faith at first, and we kind of worked out a way that we could do it and, be without her full-time income for a little bit.
Yep.
And just basically, and it just grew from there. So, it's never been a business that's been really pushed on in advertising or anything like that. It's just purely been of word of mouth.
Yeah.
So
obviously it's something that Anne's quite passionate about. She really enjoys doing it.
she loves gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just remind me of something that, so when we first met, and I think it was probably at one of the work Christmas parties when I first met Anne, and then like obviously I don't get to see Anne very much, but then one of the next times that I saw Anne, I remember that she looked dramatically different to the
Yes.
first time that I saw her.
Yes. Yep.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about what happened there?
In relation to so probably would have been after Jessie.
Yep.
We decided to change our lifestyles in relation to our fitness.
Yep.
And so forth. So we enrolled in gyms and basically cleaned up all our eating and so forth, and embarked on a challenge that's still going. But and look, it's not something that we're fanatical about in relation to we can't eat this and we can't eat that. It's just purely our lifestyle. We've changed our lifestyle from, going out and getting takeaway and so forth, but just looking for healthier options and moving more, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did that entail much of a change in diet for the kids as well?
It did a little bit. Yeah, it did a little bit. Like the kids have always eaten quite well. Like Maddie's a really good swimmer. So,
Yep.
She has always eaten quite well.
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever had or seen kids that swim heaps, but they just can't get enough food into them.
Yeah.
So it really helps with their appetite. I suppose it was at the stage where we did embark on it that things changed in the pantry.
Yep.
And we stopped buying all the crisps and all that kind of stuff. And changed basically the whole way. So we don't do two meals, one for the kids and one for us. It's just everyone eats the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then talking about the kids, like, I've got Cadence, and she's just over 3, and then I got Harley, who'll be 11 months at the end of this month. And watching, like, so Cadence has been doing her swim lessons, and then this term that's just passed now is the first term that she's actually been in the pool herself, and like it was quite a eye opener for me to see just how much they grow in such a short period of time.
Yes, they definitely do.
So I guess, how did you feel? How do you feel? Obviously your kids are older than mine.
Yep.
But they're about to go through obviously, a very different part of stage in their life.
Yes.
How do you feel as a dad about that?
Look, it's kind of, it's a little bit daunting. I suppose it's getting into your mind to not treat them like a kid anymore. Like Maddie's 13, and I suppose it really hit me when she was getting ready for her Year 6 formal, all dressed up, and I was just like, she's not a little girl anymore. So.
Man, I feel like that about Cadence, and she's only 3.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
She's gone from being this baby, and she's her own little person.
Yes, that's right.
And then I think I said this to you once as well. Like, sometimes I wonder, how much of what she does, how much of that is actually genetic, and how much of that is things that she just soaks in from her environment, like they're little sponges.
That's right. That's exactly right. So. Yeah, and look, their friends and who they hang out with has a huge impact on that.
Yeah.
So, we try, like our kids are heavily involved in sports and, Maddie with her swimming and Jesse is just getting into fizzy and all that kind of stuff, which is something that we're not. We're not a fizzy family, but,
Hold on. What's fizzy?
Fizzy is like a dancing kind of aerobics kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's something that Anne has never done. I definitely haven't done it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's but she absolutely loves it. So we're getting our heads around that.
Okay.
But I suppose back to what you're saying, her own little thing, and just seeing the way that the girls are different.
Yeah.
Like they both swim. Maddie absolutely loves swimming and will just go to a pool and she'll swim like for hours if you let her.
Yeah.
Whereas Jessie will go and swim and she just wants to get out and go and do something else. But we found fizzy for her and she just absolutely loves it, can't do enough of it. So, it's amazing. It just strikes me as they're sisters, but they just have two totally different,
personalities, different interests.
That's right. And you can't treat them the same.
Yeah.
So
what do you think, I guess as a parent, what was some of the biggest learnings for you?
Being the only male in the house is probably one. Even my dog's a girl. But
Okay.
no. Look, I suppose we try to be fair to the girls. Like, there's a lot of like, I suppose girls are different to guys in many ways. But I suppose I had a brother and a sister. And like I know when two brothers get upset with each other, they might have a bit of a biffo and move on, and they've forgotten about it 2 minutes later. But the girls just seem to hold on to it, and so there's a lot more chatting about their feelings and all that kind of stuff that goes into it.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me, I suppose it's a moving target. Like it's not something you can go like, well, I can't anyway. This is what changed it for me. It's something that like, well, for example, like like bullying, is something that you don't really expect to happen, but it happens, and then you have to go. And there's been many times quickly to look up Google, and go, just different ideas on how to address it. And
so did the girls experience any of that?
Yeah, so Maddie did. Yeah, so
Maddie did,
she had a really close friend who, they went their separate ways, and Maddie was distraught over it for a while, and it got a little bit nasty there, and so it's all sorted now, but at the time it was pretty hard for her.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's every parent's fear, right?
Yes,
that there's something happening that you're not aware of.
Yes,
and like I sometimes think about it with Cadence, because in our household, Ange and I, we try and always speak Chinese to her because we want her to have, I guess that little bit of, from, the heritage of where she's from.
Yes. Yeah.
So we try and impart that as a life skill to her.
Yes.
Because we know that, like next year she's going to start preschool.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
she's going to be surrounded by, lots of English speaking, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But if we can at least, pass on some of our culture to her, that was one of the big things for us. But then sometimes I wonder, like there's a part of me that's like, if I can't articulate these things well in Chinese, how is Cadence going to go trying to articulate those things back to me, especially when, her English still hasn't caught up to that sort of a level?
Yes, yep.
And it's really interesting. Like I find it, it's so difficult. Like one of the challenges, right, is that, we go through and, like we're trying to teach our kids a lot of, the words and how to describe things and how to articulate feelings.
Yep.
And then, they might see their peers. So, whatever friends that she makes, or, even the teacher, when she goes to preschool, and they're getting a different feedback loop.
Yes. Yep.
You know, they might be different from how we've done things.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so they're the things like, you know, you can't control everything.
No,
Like they've got to do their own learning, right?
Yes.
But I guess, you know, it's like, it's one of those things where you really have that, you know, you almost want to, as much as you want your children to be tough,
Yes.
you also want them to have learnt from your mistakes.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Sometimes it can't happen that way because, you know, it's just like me, you know, like I know I'm a very stubborn person.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's only until I've come to that understanding for myself that I can then go and say, okay, yep, no, I understand now. And I guess that's what life experience is, right?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
So, you know, like I always think back to when my kids were born, you know, I had a very, I think it was a very different reaction between Cadence being born and Harley being born.
Yeah.
And the way I would describe it is that, you know, when my daughter came into this world, well, first of all, like, you know, like it's seared into your brain when your kids come into the world, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Like I can still picture it so vividly because like, Cadence, she was difficult to get out. Like she didn't want to come out.
Yeah.
But when she came out, her eyes were open.
Yeah. Okay.
And she was looking at me.
Yeah. Right.
And like so you know, being the first one to catch her as she came out.
Yes.
Like that's something that's ingrained in my memory.
Yes.
And like it was, you know, I'm sure every parent experiences this emotion. But I guess the way that I would describe it is that, you know, when I had my daughter, I felt like this is something that I wanted to protect. And I you know,
definitely.
it might sound sexist, but like that's just the feeling that I had, right?
Yes.
Like it's, you know, it was like that. And then, you know, my wife, you know, and she would always say to me, "Oh, you know, you were different with Harley's birth."
Yeah. Okay.
And I said, "Yeah, I was." Like, you know, I was, you know, thinking to myself, you know, why do I have this different sort of feeling towards my son? And it's not that you know, I don't love him. It's I love him equally.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. But it's a different kind of a feeling because for him, it's like, you know, you want him to, I guess, you know, it was a different kind of feeling where rather than, you know, it's like, you know, I want to protect this little girl.
Yes.
I'm proud that I've got, you know,
Yeah.
He's a son, right?
Son,
Or he's a boy. And like, you know, I that's just something that I always think back to is that, you know, there's a very different sort of emotion attached. And even if I had two girls, I'm sure that the emotions would still be quite different.
Yes. Yep.
You know, would that be?
Yeah, a little bit. I suppose it's. I suppose like we've noticed that you're a lot more relaxed with your second one.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely. Yes.
You know,
yes.
The first one
that might explain some of the.
Yes, that's right. The first one is that, it's basically, you know, tender gloves, whereas the second one, and you hear other parents say it, by the time the third one comes, as you know, but look, I suppose the feeling I had was different between the two for probably mostly that reason.
Yeah.
I didn't have a boy, or my wife didn't have a boy, so.
Are you blaming her?
Yeah, it's her fault. No, well, she didn't have one, so, I can't really, the boy-girl kind of thing, I can't really, you know, talk about emotions in relation to that, but it definitely.
But you wouldn't change it for quids?
No, not at all.
You know, like, because this is the thing that I think back to with my parents. So my parents wanted me to be a girl.
Yes.
Because, you know, I've got an older brother, 7 years older, and obviously he's a boy, and so much so that, you know, my Chinese name is actually a girl's name.
Okay, rightio.
So when I was growing up and then, you know, going to, you know, the Chinese language schools and things like that, they'd be calling the roll.
Yes.
And then they'd say my Chinese name.
Yep.
And I'd say, you know, I'm here.
Yes.
And then they'd sort of do a double take at me and be like, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Didn't expect that.
Yeah. No, that's right. And look, we had no look. Two girls is beautiful as long as they're healthy and you know
they're happy and healthy. That's all that matters.
That's all you can ask for.
That's it.
I've got two great girls that I love dearly, and you know, but it's good.
And so, so Maddie would be in high school now.
Yes, they started year 7 this year. Yeah,
started year 7 this year.
Yeah,
was that a bit of a change?
It was. Yeah, so she's taken to it like a fish to water. She loves it. Okay. She's a very academic kid. And she's happy to go up there and she'll just study away. And you know, it really suits her.
Yeah.
I don't with Jessie. She's more of an outdoors type, so does what she has to do under sufferance sometimes. But she just loves getting out and since I've actually been off, she's wrapped because I can ride her to school.
Yep.
Just that's the difference.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
Jessie loves to get on the bike and go for bike rides or just out exploring and stuff like that. Whereas Maddie, she's here nor there. She's either in the pool or, happy to sit down and read a book,
Yep.
whereas, Jessie sometimes like pulling teeth to get her to do a maths homework or something. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Well, I think, knowing that you love and Anne loves to, get out for these caravanning trips that you do.
Yes. Yep.
Like it's there's no wonder that, Jessie's probably like that.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. That's right.
The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
No.
But,
that's right.
tell me a bit more about that. Like, I know you've done some pretty good trips.
Yes, yeah. So we've done trips pretty much since we were married, and as time prevailed, holidays and stuff like that. So we've never actually travelled together out of Australia. So never. Anne hasn't even got a passport.
Wow.
So I've got one, but I think
is she afraid of flying?
Well, not really. No, it just never really struck us as something we really want to do.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, look at the size of Australia.
That's right.
Place,
we live,
right?
and that's what we say. We live in a great country, and there's so much to see and do out there. Yep. Like one day we will. Like we'll do Scotland and all that kind of stuff. That's on our wish list. But at the moment we're kind of just keen to get out and see more of Australia. And we recently purchased a nice caravan to make it a bit more comfortable.
Yep.
So we ditched the tent.
Yep.
But yeah, we've had some awesome times away.
So let's like one of the things that I always like to explore is how do you get into these things, because I think for anyone that's never done it before, it's going to be pretty daunting.
Yeah.
Well, tell me what was.
Well,
what
I've
was
always.
the first one?
I suppose as a kid, I've always loved camping and that kind of stuff. I was in the Scouts for many years.
Yeah.
And even my parents, like we had a tent and we'd go away. We're lucky. My dad was a roof tiler. My mum was a school teacher. So, it wasn't hard to get school holidays off for them.
Yep.
Back then it was quite easy. Dad would, just not book in work for a few weeks, and we'd shoot up the coast and, do the tent thing. And yeah, we loved it. It was great.
Yep.
It was a really good time as a family. So.
Yep. And so when you and Anne decided to, like, I guess the first time that you guys would have done it for yourselves.
Yep.
Did you already have the caravan, or what happened there?
No, so we started like most people start with a tent.
Yep.
And worked our way up. So we done the tent and look, we done the tent for many years.
Wow.
Had all the camping gear, and every show that's on, you go and buy something else, and it just got to the point where we were doing a bit of a road trip through Victoria, and we pulled up at a campsite and started setting up all the tent, and then this guy pulls up beside us in his caravan and, comes out and, hey boys, hey guys, that was the point where, on the way back from that trip, I'm like, that's it. We're done with the tent. So we went to like a wind up camper then, which was a lot easier.
Yep.
We used it plenty of times, and then we just got to the point where we went, we'll go to the full hog and get the van.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. And I guess, well, one of the things that I remember we were talking about is that you also, do a bit of drone photography.
Yeah, yes.
So how'd you get into that?
So I've always loved photography.
Yep.
I purchased my first proper, like an SLR camera, when Maddie was born.
Yep.
So that was, that was kind of the start of it, I suppose. And then from then it's been, just doing photography. And
Well, was that for to try and capture more of the kids? Or what
it
was
was
the
a bit of an excuse, I think.
Okay.
I'd always wanted one, and Maddie came along, and we're like, we got to get a good camera. And,
wife, Anne, hold my beer.
That's right, exactly.
I've got this under control.
That's right. So we went and brought an SLR, and then it's just grown from there. Anne's got an uncle who's a very good photographer as well. So being able to catch up with him and chat to him when he's around, that's been great. About different things, and then just getting, watching YouTube and, just getting to know how to use a camera has been great,
So is that how you predominantly learn?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So just go out and try stuff, I used to go and look, it's something that, I'd love to start doing again, because you just learn so much, but just going for photo walks.
Yep.
Just taking the camera and going for a walk, Doesn't matter whether the sun's up, down, what day it is, you just go for a bit of a wander and see what's out there and see what you can catch.
And it's amazing how much you develop your skills just from doing something like that.
Well, that's right. And now it's gone to the next stage where, like that kind of learning, it's you need to be you need to know how to handle all different situations, especially when you're trying to go out and shoot weddings, or or basically paid shoots, because you don't know what the weather conditions are going to be like. You don't know what the lighting's going to be like. It could be an in-house shoot, it could be an outside shoot. You've got to be able to adapt to those conditions.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you didn't do any photography courses or anything like that?
No, just all self-taught.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow.
So in recent, probably the last few years, I've become a member of a few photography forums, which have been great as well. So you've got a lot of keen photographers there offering advice and critiques on photos and stuff like that. So that's been really good too.
Yep.
And then then there was a step into the drone world, which was something that was a little bit unexpected, but it's something that I've really come to enjoy. And
so what happened there?
Well, I won a competition actually. That's how I got into it. Yep. So I won
a photography competition.
No, it was through my last job.
Oh,
so yeah. So one of our manufacturers was offering an incentive where you win a drone.
Okay.
And I won it.
Yep.
So never had flown a drone. Just thought, oh well, I'll give it a go.
Yep.
And won this drone and got it up and had a play with it, and I was like, this is pretty cool. So.
Yep.
And then it's gone from there. So, plenty of practice there. And I actually did go and sit my license for drone photography or drone flying.
Yep.
Which is a CASA certification. So it's a pretty big deal.
Yep. So what do you have to do for that?
So it's a week course, and then so it's a full-time week course, and then basically a lot of homework and revision and stuff like that. So yeah,
and flying, obviously.
Flying hours as well. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wow. And so, so as a result of that, you've got these quite a few passion projects going on as well, right?
Yes.
So
one of the things that we really want to do is document some of these trips we're doing.
Yep.
So we've got one planned in the coming weeks.
Yep.
So we're heading into kind of like central New South Wales, and going to be putting a bit of footage to what we're doing. So.
Yep.
That's the plan anyway. So look, I don't expect it to be a huge thing. It's more so just so the kids can sit down in years to come and be able to watch what we used to do when we went holidaying and bits and pieces. So but it's something that I've always really wanted to do. But now I've got a bit of time, I can do it.
And that's how we ended up here doing this podcast. Like I think I was telling you, like there was a few things that happened to me this year, or happened in my life this year, that made me start thinking about what I wanted to do in that regard, in the sense that like I had a good mate of mine from high school commit suicide earlier this year. And I think I remember saying to you, in one of our over the coffee type of chats, that it made me think that when you pass away, when do you actually die in this world? And then so there's a few things that I guess go into this, but I guess on this part of it, it was like, as long as we remember, the person that's left us, then I guess, in some sort of way that they're still, they're still technically around, right?
Yep.
And then the second part of that was then, I was looking at my kids, and I was saying to my wife, if you were to ask me a single thing about my grandparents, I honestly don't know.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I, there was a part of me that, like I got a bit sad about that.
Yep.
So, part of me, in terms of starting, this sort of podcast was to, line up a few chats and a very important chat that I want to do with my parents.
Yeah.
To try and, get those things down, because, like I'm 35, and like I never gave a shit about, my parents or my family history or anything like that until the day that I did.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I thought, it's something that I really enjoy. And I think, some of the conversation, we've had some fantastic conversations since that. And, it just made me think, like I think everybody has, there's a story, everywhere.
Yeah, everyone's got a story.
And a lot of people, don't want to invest in the platform to tell a story, because, it's almost becomes a bit of like, well, the fuck do people want to listen to me? Like,
yes.
It's a sort of like an ego-driven thing. But, I wanted there to be something there for my kids, because, you know, it took me 35 years of my life before I decided that I actually, you know, wanted to find these things out.
Yes. Yep.
And then, you know, so, you know, I'm just grateful that I came to this conclusion whilst my parents are still here.
Yep.
So that, you know, hopefully I can line up that chat and have that
Yeah,
chat with them.
that's it.
But you know, you've got a few interesting things in your family history too that we were talking about.
Well, yeah, we were, and just talking about family history, my mum done a lot of research in her side of the family. Yeah, and found another family that we didn't even know about. So, yeah, there's a lot to be unearthed there, mate.
Yep. So what happened there?
Well, so basically, when my great grandfather came over, he had a family in England, and it was at the time everyone was coming over, so he came over, and basically the agreement was that he would come over, find work, get a house, and then send for the family, the wife and the kids to come over.
Yeah.
And basically done that and sent for them to come back, and they never arrived. So then he met a girl over here and started another family.
Yeah.
And didn't tell anyone. So so it was pretty. Yeah, it was when they found it, they were quite intrigued. So it ended up, unfortunately, my pop had passed away by then.
Yep.
But his wife, so my nan, was able to go over to England with my mum.
Yep.
And meet them and
Wow.
meet their family, and they still talk to this day. And
Wow.
you know, now my nan's passed away, but yeah, my mum still talks to them, and yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it? Like that, you know, I guess back then, you know, communication was very different, right?
Yes, that's right.
So, you know, the way that he would have come over, well, I'm assuming, would that have been by boat?
Boat, yes, yep.
And so, you know, to leave your family behind, I guess in search of a better life, right?
Yes,
Like that's ultimately why people, you know, make these changes.
That's right. Yep.
You know, I don't think anybody, you know, essentially tries to make a move to go backwards.
No, that's right.
So to try and find that better life, and then, you know, establish yourself, and then go, hey guys, you know, like I'm here.
Yes.
Are you coming?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
And then for them to not come, it's
Yes.
just, you know, where do you go from there?
That's right.
So, I guess, does that make you do you connect with them at all?
Not really. No.
Not really.
No.
Yeah. So it's more just, you know, from your mum
Yeah.
in that regard.
Mum likes all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
So, well, she's gone over and met them, and you know, developed a relationship there. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, you know, for me, like, you know, I don't know much in that regard about my grandparents. Like, I didn't meet either of my grandfathers.
Yep.
I met my grandmothers, but you know, I didn't really get to spend enough time. And I think, you know, also at that point in my life, you know, as a child or a teenager, you don't really think about those things.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, only until I've had kids for myself that I start to consider some of these things. And I guess that's you know, it's, I guess, you know, when you're growing up, you don't think about them, and nor can anybody influence you to think about them.
Yes, that's
You
right.
know, you're not ready to think about these things or consider these things, and that's, I guess, you know, ultimately why you get wiser as you get older.
Yes. Yep. And hopefully it's not too late.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the other reasons why, you know, this whole thing started, was that, you know, I was chatting with another friend of mine who, you know, I want to get on this podcast as well, and I was telling him about how, you know, I wanted to have that chat with my father and my mum, and sit them down and ask them, you know, all the questions about, you know, their childhood, and, you know, what was it like, you know, growing up in Singapore or Malaysia, and then, you know, what was their journey to get here. And, you know, we, like, you know, in this conversation, you know, my friend said to me, you know, Johnny, you absolutely should, because my parents passed away when I was 12, and I never got that chance to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And it just made me think, wow,
Yeah.
you know, you're really fortunate
That's
in some
right.
of these regards if you're able to have some of these conversations.
Yes. Yeah, that's
you know?
right.
Yet I think it's something that we all, like, you know, a lot of people take for granted.
Yes.
So, you know, that's, you know, I guess, you know, part of the catalyst for why, you know, I'm getting out there and trying to have these conversations,
Yeah.
so that, you know, we can all have that chance, you know, to have that chat, and, you know, share what are some of those things that, you know, we want to leave behind for our kids? Because I think, you know, that's, you know, we're sort of, you know, retaining a slice of history here, or like almost like a time capsule for you know, our friends and family to consider.
Yes.
You know, at that point in their life when they think, well, yeah, I do want to listen to that.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, because I always think about it as, you know, when I was a kid, right? And your parents,
Yep.
you know, they tell you to do things and you're like, yeah, whatever, mum, or whatever,
that's right.
dad.
That's right.
Right? Because, you know, ultimately, like, yeah, there's lessons to be learnt from, you know, people you aspire to be.
Yes.
And there's lessons to be learnt from people that you aspire not to be.
Yes, that's right.
Right. And sometimes the better lessons are actually from the ones that you choose not to be like.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
But yeah, so I guess, you know, is there anything else that you can think of at the moment that you want to talk about, or
No, not really, mate. I
No?
think we've done well.
All right. Well, we'll call it there for today, and you know, thanks everybody for listening, and you know, I will also you know, put some links to your website. So I think it's what, IBB Visuals.
Yes, that's right.
If you're interested in any of the photography stuff.
Yeah.
The gardening business, what's that one?
Annie's Gardens.
Annie's Gardens.
Annie's Garden Service. Yep.
So if people are looking for any sort of drone photography or photography or garden work, you know, and
let
you're
us
in
know.
there, yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, mate.